they were not able to celebrate that holiday at the right time, around September, because of the war. Once they regained control of the temple, and the warfare actually settled down for a bit, they were able to celebrate it once again. And they set it up as 8 days. And a lot of the liturgy that is observed in the synagogues today resembles the praises that would normally have been sung on that holiday of Tabernacles. So there is a logic to the 8 days that really is the truth. Gospel truth. Can I say that? So the holiday has its origins in the religious side, but it has this wonderful mythology of the candles. Now there were two schools of thought. Now, I don't know how many Jews you know, but we don't always agree on everything. You all agree here on that. Well, there was one school of thought that said, well, if it's an 8-day holiday, let's light a candle for 8 days. And the rest of them said, no, we got to have more than just one candle. And so we developed this thing called a Chanukiah. The Chanukiah is different than a menorah. The fact that this one is shaped like this, it can be shaped in any old way. We have a marvelous moose in our house, which is a Chanukiah. It's the old brass thing that was somebody beat out. We got it out of a little store in New Hampshire. It doesn't matter what the shape is, as long as it holds 8 candles that are on the same level, and one that is either separate or a little higher. This one is the one used to light the other ones. And on each night of Hanukkah, the custom is to add one more candle. We add a candle, so we increase the light. There was another school of thought that said start with 8, and we'll pull one off each successive night, and have just one at the end. So the other idea won out, and so now from that day to this, we light one candle additional to this lighter candle. In Hebrew it's called a shamash, and each night we add one more candle, and it uses therefore 44 candles in a box. Sometimes we'll get that box of 44 candles and one of them will be broken. Can you imagine? So, can we get somebody, there's going to be a quiz. I don't know if there are enough. I printed up 20 some odd things like that. Okay, while Bill is passing that out, I brought a little packet of stuff. There's enough in here for you.
Did you bring us Dreidels?
There you go. Okay, see if that'll get you enough to go around.
Thank you.
Sure, I know people have told me that for years. Just open those, pass them around. So, yeah, open it up. It's a skill test. By the way, you've all heard of Elf on a Shelf, right? We don't have a shelf. We have bench on a bench.
Yeah.
So, all right, while you're figuring out how to open these little packages, there are plenty of them. If somebody wants some extras, you can certainly have some. I'm going to light the first candle, and I want to guide you. I'm going to light them up. Normally we would recite a blessing for them. We are done with the holiday. So I brought along my torch. We'll light them, and we'll get to bask in the light of these. Actually, let me tell you a strange rule. Not that we don't have it, that any of our rules are really strange. But we're not allowed to read from the light of these Hanukkah candles. They're not supposed to be lit for any other purpose than observing the holiday itself. Do you want to have something we put under that so we don't get wax on your table off? I just thought of that.
So if the power goes out, you can't read by the candle?
Well, let me tell you how we get around this.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
What are rules for anyhow? No, come now, come on. We're smarter than that. This one is okay. You can read from the light of this one. Okay? So just make sure that if you do read from the light, it's, uh-oh.
Yeah, you missed one.
No, I didn't, it went out. Don't let the light go
See,
out.
Mark, it's just like our candelabra in our church.
See, we have a lot of overlap, don't we? Well, the holiday is actually not supposed to be the answer to Christmas. It occurs at the same time of year, which of course has resulted in Hanukkah in the West, in Christian countries, being a gift-giving celebration. That's why Adam Sandler wrote that. You all hear his Hanukkah song? You ever heard it?
Yeah.
All right, well, never mind.
Really, though? Really?
Huh? What?
Tell them to pay attention.
I'm standing this far, so my peripheral vision doesn't cover this. I just don't want to back into this. The celebration of Hanukkah in a traditional home before the interface with Christianity was simply lighting an additional candle each night, singing a few songs, and that was it. You go on about your business. It was simply a festival of remembering, a festival of freedom of sorts. Once Christianity and Christmas became such a marketing event, well, Hanukkah had to keep up. And so for 8 days, kids get something, unless the kids have super high anxiety and they open all of them on the first night, which can happen. So we try to, when our son was little and we had this conundrum of how to tell him, no, you can't open those other ones, we put it up to him and said, you can open up one tonight and one the next night, or you can open up all of them tonight, and then there won't be anything on the next nights. The poor kid, after therapy for several years, but it actually worked. I mean, he actually was able to self-regulate, and we, of course, sneaked a few gifts hidden away just in case he got overexcited on the first 3 or 4 nights. Hanukkah became a gift-giving event only in reflection of Christmas. Normally, it's not a day off of work. It's not a holiday that is observed like some of the other holidays for which we are supposed to spend our day in the synagogue and with family. But this is a holiday people get together and indulge themselves in all manner of foods. Now, recently we had a Hanukkah dinner at my synagogue, and all through the year, I do what I call a culinary tour of the world to discover how to be kosher in different countries. And in some places it's more difficult than others. But for Hanukkah, I called synagogues in the Philippines, in Vietnam, in various countries of Europe, in Greece. What unique foods do you serve for Hanukkah that we can, I say, this is yours? And they said, we have latkes. Latkes? That's the potato pancake. Did they get served?
We're waiting on you, we don't know when to do it.
Yeah, tell us.
Oh my goodness, when they're done.
Christian, we don't know.
We're cruising. One cruise of oil. I thought they smelled done. Oh my goodness, you held out?
No, I didn't know when he wanted it done.
I was hoping it would be part of your meal. Anyway, so.
I'll have one for dessert. And that's all.
Okay, well, that's so much good. And the other, so I asked around the country, what is the traditional Hanukkah food in your part of the world? And all of them have a potato pancake. How did the potato pancake become so identified with Hanukkah? Well, as a corollary, how did Yankee Doodle become such a well-known, beloved song in America? Remember, it was a song the British sang to make fun of the rebels. But the rebels adopted it, and it became sort of a rallying cry song. The potato pancake became the food because of the cruise of oil that was supposedly lasted for a miraculous 8 days. So we are supposed to, by tradition, not by any celestial command, eat foods that are cooked in olive oil, fried in olive oil, baked in olive oil, dipped in olive oil. The Jews of Europe were very poor. The only food they could get reliably was potatoes. And so instead of some exotic food dipped or roasted or fried in olive oil, they were left with potatoes, and it became the standard. So all over the world, as I'm looking for exotic treats that others had invented for the holiday, they all came back with potato pancakes or latkes. The other tradition, because we are so health conscious, is a jelly-filled donut. Now, does anybody not like a jelly-filled donut? But we come up with all kinds of recipes for them, baked, fried, boiled, however you want to make them, with a little bit of jelly. So that is the tradition for the foods. Now, of course, in a big place like this, you can't just serve a piece of, why, thank you, sir. I even got 2 plates. That's pretty good. All right, well, we normally will eat these with maybe some applesauce or some sour cream, or just by themselves. They're pretty good. Some people might think that these are just hash browns, but if you didn't know that these were latkes, you could probably swear that they were hash browns. But they probably serve an equally good purpose. Now, other things that we do on the holiday that are traditional, and I will get to this later. We have these little dreidel things. We don't really know. There are so many theories around as to how in the world these things became part of our tradition. And you can Google the thing. You can Google the word dreidel, and you'll come up with all kinds of authoritative answers. Some of them will have, boy, these things aren't easy to open, are they? There we go. On the papers that I handed out, or you handed them out, I'll give credit. You can see embossed on the sides are 4 Hebrew letters. I've shown you those and explained them on the back of, on one side of the paper, where it talks about the dreidel. And if you were to find yourself in a Jewish home or in a place where they were celebrating the holiday, it's very likely that they would be pulling out some dreidels. Now, these have not been authenticated by people, the folks in Las Vegas, as not weighted, but they're supposed to land randomly on any of the 4 sides. There are 4 letters on them outside of Israel. Inside Israel, there's 1 different letter. I'll tell you about that in a second. The first letter, see if you can find it on your dreidel. Oh my gosh, and they have some helper words on there. Okay, the first letter that you look for is the one called Nun. Okay, the Nun looks like, I've written it for you on the paper. You should be able to find it. And if you rotate it in the correct direction, you'll see another letter that looks similar to it, but is just slightly different at the bottom. That letter is called Gimel. The next letter is easier to figure out. It's a squarish looking letter. It's called Hey. It's not Hey, and it's not He. It's Hey. It's in between. It's like without the diphthong. And the final letter is a 3-pronged letter, almost like a W. That letter is called Shin. Now, the games that are played vary. There's no book of Hoyle about how to play dreidel. There are only the ones that gain popularity by the most times it's told. But I've given you some samples here. Generally, we'll play with a collection of trinkets of some sort. A lot of people, in my family growing up, it was always a bowl full of filberts because they're easy to hand out, and we could eat them afterwards. The talent is not extraordinary, but you should be able to spin them upside down on your hand on the table so that they spin for a period of time. So you can spin them upside down, spin them right side up. Depends entirely on how they're weighted. And when we play with these, we can actually use them as a set of dice. We will follow the rules that I set down for you here. That if it falls on the floor, you have to go sit in a corner. If you get the letter Nun, then you don't do anything. If you get the letter Gimel, you take everything that's in the kitty or in the pot in the middle. If you get the letter